Okay, I'm going to show the newest thing I added is to how to run NiFiSecure. I put everything together in one tar file, and basically you could just run it on your local desktop. Everything's there. You don't have to do anything. You just run the install script. So let me go over how to set that up and give it a shot. I did it for a quick setup to install and run NiFi on your local. It's got to be a Linux kind of based machine. I tested this out on a CentOS 7 and a Raspberry Pi. Seems to work good. Steps are pretty easy. You go to the website. If you go here, you'll see that there's a tar file you can download. You go ahead and untar it, and there'll be an install script in there, and that install script will go ahead and automatically create 3 certs you can use in the NiFiSecure version. It'll also download the latest version of NiFi. It'll install it and configure NiFi to run secure on your local machine. And then finally, you get instructions on how to start NiFi. Once it's started, go ahead and download the certs you created, and then you upload those to your browser. So you can go ahead and use those certs to access your secure NiFi. So go ahead now, I'll show you the video I put together on how to actually do that. So we'll go over every step as far as how to make this work for you on your local machine. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is go to the Silver Cloud Computing website, silvercloudcomputing.com, and we're going to go to the NiFi tips menu part there. Click on that. And there it'll give a general description of how this works, you know, what the steps are involved and actually what it does. But basically you're going to have a tar file you're going to download and untar, and then you're going to go ahead and run an install script, and it'll create the certs for you and create NiFi and configuration directory. So let's go ahead and download the tar, and that'll be then probably in your downloads directory. It doesn't start with NiFi tar. It'll have some funky name like D0 or whatever, but look in your downloads directory and it'll have a tar on the end of it, and that's what it's called. So let's go ahead to our downloads directory, and we will untar that file. Okay, so go ahead and untar it, and then there's some files that were in there that you're going to use to actually install NiFi in a secure way. If you want to look at the README file, it talks about what it does, but at the very bottom I think I put some stuff in there to make it easy to install, just a bunch of stuff you can cut and paste, and actually just cut and paste it and put it in the command line. It'll just run everything for you. So let's go ahead and run the install script, install NiFi.sh. So copy that, paste it in there, return, and what it's going to do is going to create some certs for us, self-signed certs, and then it's going to actually download NiFi and then install it. So it takes a while to download NiFi, so let's go ahead and jump ahead here to the very end. So it might take a minute or two. Almost done downloading NiFi. We'll go ahead and install it in the directory we specified, and then what it'll do is it'll modify some properties to help it run into a secure mode. Okay, so we're all done installing NiFi securely, and if you want to look, it's installed in this temp NiFi directory, and if you look in the certs directory, that's where all the certs are that we created. There's 3 of them: admin, guest, and test. And there's also a NiFi directory, specifically in the config directory. If you look at NiFi.properties, you'll see that all the security stuff has been filled in for you already. Okay, including passwords and where the key stores are located. Let's go ahead and start it. Again, temp is in the temp NiFi directory, so go ahead and start it. And then we'll go ahead and tail it and wait for it to come up. So you want to look for a certain thing in the logs to see that it's actually started up fine. So here we just want to make sure that everything's fine, the certs are good, the passwords are good, everything installed fine, and it'll say that NiFi started successfully. And what you want to look for is it'll say something like HTTPS 127.001.48.443/NiFi. When that comes up, then you know that it's running correctly and it's you're ready to access the web page. So let's just give it a minute here. And once it is running, I created the flow file. One of the part of the install process is a flow file I created that opens up port 8080 unsecure that lets you go ahead and access the NiFi GUI, so to speak, where you can download all 3 certs, and that way you can access the NiFi securely. Okay, so we see it came up. This is what you're going to look for: HTTPS 127.001.8443 NiFi. That tells us that it came up fine. So let's go ahead and access the GUI, this home page I put together, to actually let us download the certs. So it's going to be on port 8080. Let's go ahead and put that in there. You don't need any certs for this. It's wide open. And now we can download the guest cert and the admin cert and the test cert. And all those should be stored into your downloads folder. Let's go take a look. Maybe take a look at the downloads folder just to see where it is. And again, going to that port 8080 web page, that's your NiFi instance generating that, so you know it's working fine. Just a little trick to help you. You can generate web pages with NiFi if you want. So let's go to the downloads directory, just to show you that those certs are actually downloaded. They'll be P12 files. So there they are: admin, guest, and test. And now we need to import those into our Chrome browser. So we're going to go down to Settings, and we're going to click on Advanced, and then Privacy and Security, and then Manage our certs. And we're going to go ahead and click on Import. Go to our downloads directory, and there's our 3 certs. So we're going to go ahead and do the admin first, and the password is admin1234. We're going to copy that in there. Okay, so we imported that successfully. Now we're going to go ahead and do the other 2, guest, and we'll just type in guest1234 for the password. And then we'll go ahead and go do test, and again test1234. Okay, so now we imported all 3 of our certs that we just created into our browser. So now we can go to the NiFi web page, secure web page, if we want. You can actually view the cert that you just created. This was created Wednesday, April 15th, so that's the dates that it was. Whenever you created yours, it'll be specific to the time you created. So let's go ahead to the secure site now, and it should ask us for what cert do we want to use. So 8443, you're going to hit advanced because it's self-signed cert, so things don't usually like self-signed cert. So we're going to head and use the guest cert for right now. So let's click on guest, and it should bring us to our NiFi GUI. There it is. And with the guest cert, you're limited. The way I set it up is you're limited. You can only look at things. You can't really change things or start and stop things. You can't add things to it. You can just pretty much look at it. You can't see the users or policies or look at provenance or anything like that. It's just a basic, here it is, sort of GUI. So let's go ahead and bring this up again, but this time we're going to use the admin cert, and the admin cert will give you full access to do whatever you want on that graph. Let's go ahead and do that, and now you can see we have the big capability to start and stop stuff. So if we want to stop a processor, we can do it. If we want to look at the provenance, data provenance on it, we can do that too. Okay. If we want to look at the users, we can click on that. So we can add users, remove users, again with the admin. In the upper right, you'll see what user you are to. It shows admin. We can look at the policies. So you can do whatever you want for the admin. And I think that's it for that one. One thing you might want to consider using is if you want to look at the install Ni, that's how it's created. I give it a name and a password. You can change those if you want. You can add more to them if you want. That's just how I created them to make it easy for everybody. The username and password. Something you might want to use is the settings.txt, and you can specify where you want all this stuff installed and what the passwords are for the trust store and the key store and what port you want to use on. Something else you can use is this to generate passwords is this thing called UUID gen, and it'll actually generate a UUID number that you can use yourself for a password. So that way it makes it very unique. So every time you type UUID gen in, it creates a unique number for you. For the setup, again, you download the install NiFi.tar. It's not going to be called install NiFi. It'll have some random UUID name associated with it. It'll be something like d0.tar. But anyways, you want to untar the file that you get download. Go ahead and run the install script, and it'll go ahead and install everything for you. So just sit there and wait for it. It'll take a little while to actually download the NiFi. Once that's done, you go ahead and start it. Once it's started, you're going to have to go ahead and now download your certs. And the NiFi is configured to actually have an open port on port 8080. You can use 127.0.0.1 or localhost, either way is fine. You'll be presented with the GUI, and you can download the 3 certs, admin, guest, and test. And again, the passwords are admin1234, guest1234, and test1234. And once you've downloaded those and uploaded those into your browser, go ahead and access your secure NiFi that's running, and then pick one of those certs to do it. Now, admin will give you full access, do whatever you want. Guest will give you limited access. It's just a demo just to show you there's different permissions you can do for different things. Just as an FYI, there's some config files you can look at and see how things kind of work. In the install NiFi and create key scripts, there's a command in there that actually calls this create key, and you pass it a name and a password. That's how these are all created, the guest, admin, and test. You can put whatever you want there. If you want to add another account, that's fine. Another user, that's fine. You want to put a different password in there, that's fine, but this is where it's done. In general, you might want to consider using UUID gen to actually create some unique passwords for yourself. In the setting.txt, it just defines where everything is installed and what NiFi version you're going to install, where you're going to put it, where you're going to put the certs, and what the passwords are for the key store and trust store. You can also define what port you want to run it on, and then there's a NiFi properties key that you can define as well. Finally, there's another file in there I have. It's called demo.tar. I guess I'm not really creative with names, but basically what it does is it contains all the files it needs to actually customize NiFi to work securely. There's an authorizations file, authorizers file, the flow.xml. When you brought it up, you saw there's a flow file there. You didn't create that yourself. That was actually created when you installed NiFi, and these are all the files I created and put these in a tar file, so it was easy to recreate things. So that flow.xml.gz is part of that demo.tar. All the users you saw were in this users file, and then that kind of welcome page that you saw when you first downloaded the certs, it's in this file called overview.html. But you really don't need to modify any of this stuff, but it's just there to let you see what it is. Finally, if you have any questions, just go ahead and visit the website. I'll try and add some more stuff to it. It's been a while since I've updated things, but if you have any questions, just visit the website, or you can certainly send an email to me at NiFi@silvercloudcomputing.com. And if you have any ideas for anything you'd like me to try and demo or show or showcase or try out, just send me an email and I'll try and get a video up on it. Okay? Thanks.